This is the Living on Borrowed Time podcast that we have not recorded for several months, but now most of us are under quarantine, so it seemed like as good time as any to record some new content that I will probably forget to send to Ryan and or he will forget to put up. But this is an exciting time for everybody because we now have an official guide to underground hip-hop, and we're going to be analyzing that. I'll include a link in the description or have Ryan do so, but we finally have a guide, guys. It's really exciting, and I'm looking at it right now. Obviously, Mad Villainy is the top of the wide world of experimental hip-hop. It's lyrical, old school, and rudimentary, which, you know, I wasn't aware that rudimentary was a compliment, but apparently it is.
We have a great. If you're looking for some other experimental hip hop, you know, where better to go than Death Grips? Death Grips is the money store, you know.
That's that's like the fifth best album of all time on RYM or something. They have a Rob Sonic album that I've never heard of right next to Mad Villainy for some weird reason. What the fuck? At the very least, you can go from one Ka album to another Ka album. That's a very bold statement. You can go from one Cool Keith album to another Cool Keith album. See, some of these make sense, but then it's just like stops making sense at a point.
They're like, if you like Deltron 3030, you'll like Arm & Hammer. And I'm like, I don't know if that is right.
Yeah.
My favorite one is the Mad Villainy to Aesop Rock to Atmosphere jump, which is a pretty big leap.
That's they were all in the same time period, I think. And I guess, well, like I just remember them all being covered in Spin and Rolling Stone at the same time as like the token hip hop act you would see reviewed at the time. Like you would have maybe one mainstream act and one underground act, and it was almost always Atmosphere, Aesop Rock, or Sage Francis. And then when Mad Villain came out, it got reviewed too. But oh man, I don't know the abstract side. I don't know what's so abstract about a lot of these, but I mean,
I just like the Death Grips one has 5 other Death Grips albums as offshoots. If you look at it.
I mean, you need a guide to tell you that if you like one thing by an artist, listen to more by that artist for sure.
Do you like the Death Grips to JPEG Mafia to what's the one after that? Death Grips to JPEG Mafia to like Bus Driver? That's a pretty
Grips to JPEG to
Bus Driver. And Veteran it describes as
those Death Grips to JPEG to I can't pronounce it. That fucking vaporwave ass rap album.
Yeah.
I don't see where Driver. that also doesn't make any sense, by the way.
The Death Grips to Yeezus to Injury Reserve to Vince Staples is definitely one of the funnier ones.
Oh yeah, well Death Grips to Yeezus to any of the Yeezus. Well, Yeezus to Rodeo at least makes sense. Rodeo being an experimental hip hop makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And look at the, they're like, okay, so if you like
Rodeo is right between, by the way, JPEG, obscure JPEG release, and Dizzy Rascals Boy.
Wait. So then they're like, okay, so if you like Yeezus, which of all the Kanye albums to listen to first, I wouldn't do that one. Okay, so you're gonna like Rodeo, which sounds nothing like Yeezus. But then, if you like Rodeo, you like Man on the Mood, Kid Cudi.
That one I can kind of see because like Travis is being like the new person filling in that spot around Kanye. That one's not the worst thing on here. The rest, like Yeezus to Injury Reserve makes no fucking sense. Injury Reserve to Vince makes no fucking sense.
At least Yeezus to Big Fish Theory, you're like, I can kind of see it. Sort of.
This one cuts off on what the fuck cuts to Bus Driver to Open Mike Eagle makes sense because they were in the same crew together at least.
Do you like?
But it's either like horrible jumps and dumbass jumps or like completely logical things. Like one artist to another a same album another album by the same artist or something like somebody who's in the same crew as the same person. Like, you shouldn't need a fucking flow chart to tell you, like, oh, this guy was in the same, like, they're both in Hellfire together. If I like this, I'd like this. Like,
I definitely think the worst jump on the Death Grips thing, even worse than the Yeezus one to Rodeo, is the Death Grips Money Store to Lil Ugly Mane, and then Lil Ugly Mane to like a bunch of other Lil Ugly Mane, and then Lil Ugly Mane to Space Ghost Perp, eventually to 3-6. And I'm like, okay, I get if you listen to, like, once you get to the bottom of the chart, you're like, all right, that makes sense. But why do I have to listen to ex-military to get to Lil Ugly Mane? What?
you're working backwards to get to 3-6 Mafia, obviously. Right. With no goddamn sense.
Because I don't think you would just listen to that Space Ghost Perp tape just randomly. That's not a popular tape, even in the internet like community. I don't think it's like popular. No, because we're like 9 years removed from it now. Like the Rocky tape from that year is way more of an obvious entry point into like, you know, like someone doing an older like sound from the South.
Sorry, I'm trying to flip up in the chat to find the actual image that's not cut off, because the one in David D's tweet is cut off at the end, because I want to see the end, because one of the most baffling things about it is on the abstract side, fucking DJ Shadow's introducing is at the very bottom.
Like, you don't like the clouded to Lil B jump?
Cloud dead, however the fuck you pronounce it. Wait, now the image in the chat's like been blacked out with fucking.
No, that's the joke one. That's the one. It's the simplified version.
I'm doing good thing.
The one in is the one in the tweet cut out? Because I think it's I'm looking for introducing. Actually, it might be cut out because I can't find it now.
Yeah, because it definitely was like the very
well, you know what I can do? I can just find the chart.
I found the chart. I found the actual chart. Yeah, I found the actual chart. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, you have to go from a mediocre anti-pop consortium album to get to DJ Shadow's introducing. No, you have to get from RJD2 to get to. Wait. That is like, I'm trying to think of that's like listening to Greta Van Fleet to get to Led Zeppelin.
No, you're right. That's exactly what that is. I mean, is this just all for people who everything they get into is like
they have Kiss, God's Father, and I'm Gay together to get from there's the Cloud Dead to Lil B jump.
Right.
And then for Lil B, they have representative as 6 Kiss, God's Father, and I'm Gay, I'm Happy. They punctuated the I'm Happy, which proves they're not truly based, because that's not punctuated in real life.
Do you like Killer Mike?
It all ends at Rain in England, by the way, as a separate release for some reason. Rain in England, which isn't even a hit like that. Okay.
Do you like the Killer Mike being the abstract hip hop section?
The Killer Mike's real abstract. Killer Mike definitely belongs between Buck 65 and Odd Nosdom.
He's the next offshoot is LP. I'll sleep when you're dead.
Yeah, Killer Mike is 2 steps away from Coin Locker Kid, which is hilarious if you've ever heard Coin Locker Kid. Flying Lotus, You're Dead is not a hip hop album. It's a free jazz album.
It's a jazz album. It also is a huge leap from Mad Villain Captain Murphy to You're Dead.
Right, yeah, Captain Murphy, that was a huge leap. They were just like, oh no, well, Captain Murphy's Flying Lotus, so step one.
They're like, we can't do Cosmogramma, so what album has Kendrick on it rapping?
Yes, what album sounds, yeah. There are literally 2 rap tracks on You're Dead, as opposed to none on Cosmogramma, but it sounds even less like Cosmogramma sounds even more like a hip hop album than You're Dead does, in spite of the fact there are 2 vocal rap tracks on You're Dead. Like,
Yeah, no, Cosmic Grammy, like the beats are more
Yeah,
rappy.
beat, like it's more beat centric. Like You're Dead is like straight up like free jazz shit. So that makes no sense for that to be on there.
Did you like Mac Miller and Childish Gambino in the alternative hip hop section?
Oh, we haven't even gotten alternative hip hop yet. No, I'm
Oh,
still.
this is a fun. Look how we get to Jay Dilla in the alternative hip hop section.
Yeah, well, Dilla's not at the top. Tyler, the Creator's at the top. Well, okay.
Wolf too.
Wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
And then right at the top is fucking. Oh no! What the fuck? Who the fuck? Contemporary, less nerdy grime. Okay, I'm not cool enough to know what that is. But then at the top of everything, we have Senor Benedict the Moor, who I have nothing against, but he's Milo. He's like Milo's weed carrier. We have him ahead of, like, way ahead of Milo. No one who knows this guy, like, would put him ahead of Milo at all. And you have to listen to him before you listen to Milo. Makes no fucking sense. They have a lot of Kill Bill, who I have his album. I haven't listened to it yet.
They go Brockhampton to Flatbush Zombies to Esquire, Mr. Motherfucking Esquire.
You have You have Tyler to Brockhampton. You have Wolf to Brockhampton to Flower Boy, which is a choice. You have Wolf to Watching Movies with the Sound Off to Because of the Internet, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You have Wolf to Doris to Rap Album 2, which, I mean, aren't good albums, but
I mean, if you like, I wouldn't you listen to Doris and listen to I Don't Like Shit and then maybe listen to, like, the John Wayne?
Well, yeah, but they don't. Oh no, they don't have Doris going to Rap Album 2. They have Doris going to I Don't Like Shit. I misread the arrows because flowcharts are terrible. That's another thing.
And this one makes sense.
Yeah, flowcharts are a terrible way to convey information in any context. Like, no, don't use fucking flowcharts. Don't use them with their job. Don't use them for memes. Don't use them for anything. Flowcharts are fucking horrible.
The one where it goes, I don't like shit. You get to J Electronica, then you get to Standing on the Corner, and then there's like 5 options for Standing on the Corner.
Yeah, Standing on the Corner is like a fucking spur in like one of those annoying streets in like Philly or something, or like in DC.
Like a 5 intersection, yeah.
Exactly. You have all your well, I guess. Okay, the Standing on the Corner one actually makes sense if you look at it again, but we have to get to Standing on the Corner to get, except for the one where it's how you get to Donuts at the very end.
They're like, you know what? Fuck it, we'll throw it in there.
Like, if you're gonna put Donuts in here, you should be probably putting it near the top.
Right, because wouldn't most of these people cite Donuts, or at least Jay Dilla, as like an inspiration?
I'd say like 90% of them would, but yeah, no, this doesn't, like, direct inspiration. Like, pretty much everybody's surrounded by him for sure. Like, Jay Electronica, Earl, fucking Mavi, Cities of Eve, Mike, Saucy Malone, Mick Jenkins. Yeah, I'd say pretty much all of them would say Earl. Dill is an influence.
Yeah, there's no way that like Tyler and Earl didn't listen to Dilla.
I mean, the only way this chart is in any way useful is it's like pretty much a list of good albums. Like, there's like almost not. I mean, like, I don't like Rodeo, you know that, but there's like almost nothing on here that's bad. So it's like if you just want a list of good things to listen to, like, there are, like, I don't like Rodeo, I don't like Cloud Dead. There's some stuff on here I don't know, so I can't vouch for it. But
there's that random Lil B that isn't good. The Rain in England.
I don't think. Yeah. Well, the thing about Rain in England is like it's not hip hop. It's another one that's not hip hop. It's like,
there's definitely not hip hop. Yeah.
It's bizarre. Like, it's really listenable. Like, it's really long. It's very much it's very based.
It is.
I don't think I ever have need to listen to it again. So this is probably not good.
No, I would just listen to like Six Kiss or God's Father. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of good Lil B tapes. We don't need.
There's actually a good movie you can listen
Yeah. Whereas he's got All the Flames. Like, he's got plenty of tapes that like I would point towards, even coming after the Six Kiss God's Father like thing that they put down there.
Well, even the new stuff is actually I thought the new tape was pretty like it's hard to listen to now because he put it on SoundCloud, not as a playlist, just as 100 individual tracks, which is really smart.
I have not heard it. I have not been feeling based enough to hear it, but I still love Black Ken.
I mean, I only listened to the Chopped and Screwed section and a few other parts, but the Chopped and Screwed section is great because it's like old classic Lil B stuff, Chopped and Screwed, like Age of Information, and he does a really good job with it. Like he actually chops the tracks, which is much more than a lot of people who say who are doing Chopped and Screwed versions lately do. They just screw them, they just slow them down. Like I say that in my review is where it's like I feel like the whole slowed and reverb thing is for people who like DJs are afraid to actually chop when they chop and screw, and or listeners or just don't like the sound of chopping, or because they've heard too many shitty DJs who don't know how to chop. So that's how we ended up with slowed and reverbed.
Right.
Chopped and screwed without the abrasive screwing, without the abrasive chopping, but thing is, chopping can actually be really good if you have somebody who knows how to do it, but not many people did. Like Screw knew how to do it, and Slim K knows how to do it, but
it's like there's not many other like really good people out there. Like Slim K is the obvious like heir apparent to Screw in that regard.
Topic, and I guess this seems like as good a time to discuss what the topic is. I mean, I kind of rushed into this because it was very exciting that we now have a guide to my world of experimental hip hop, which is really useful.
Don't like listening to hyphy, aka clipping.
Yes. The best hyphy album of the past 10 years, which was Splendor and Misery.
I don't even think W. Diggs would tell you that that's the best hyphy album.
Oh, I heard something interesting on was it Behind the Bastards? It was one of the it was West Wing thing. It was the podcast where Dave from the Dollop shits all over the West Wing with one of his comedian friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget who they had on. It was a repeat guest, but it wasn't the guy from Chapo. But it was talking about how he always hated Hamilton, and I guess Lin-Manuel Miranda's like dad is like either a lobbyist or some sort of talent. Like Lin-Manuel Miranda or Manuel Miranda, I don't know how to pronounce it. He kept pronouncing it Manuel, which I thought was wrong. I thought it was Manuel. But he's an industry plant, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily surprise me.
And yeah, I forget. Like, I might throw it in the Discord later or something. This episode, and try and remember where it was in the episode where they discussed it. It was like in the beginning, pretty much. But it was talking about like because this guy had an article at the Baffler and somewhere else where he talks about Hamilton, basically exposes him as an industry plant, like the whole like prefabricated hype for it and stuff, and how it also just coincided with like this real like Republican think tank, like right-wing think tank interest in whitewashing Hamilton and like rehabilitating Hamilton's legacy. So he's also kind of like a tool of that establishment too.
Right.
So he's like a piece of like kind of sucks. And that's like he's putting him in movies that like, but he's not good in movies. Apparently, I don't think I've seen him in anything, but apparently he gets a lot of roles. So yeah, he's like an annoying industry, but like good for David Diggs for getting like paid off of Hamilton, which should probably like give him the luxury to do whatever he wants musically. I've really liked the last two clipping albums, but they're not hypey. Like,
I mean, yeah, they don't fit those tags.
But anyway, so I rushed to get this out there because we have this exciting new guy. But really, the topic of this episode is we're obviously, the vast majority of us are under quarantine right now. It's a horrible, stressful situation. And just kind of wanted to discuss what our personal bright spots were for the year so far, seeing as it's been a terrible fucking year, not just because of the horrible dystopian hell world pandemic, but, just general, the news has been shit. It has been a terrible year. But I think that there's been a lot of good music this year, and we don't have to keep it to music either. Like, if there's been stuff in other media that you've enjoyed, feel free to mention that as well. So, or I might mention some books. I have not seen Tiger King. Everybody else is fucking talking about it. I should probably point, but so don't really spoil it. Although I've heard of Joe Exotic from other things before this. Didn't he run as a libertarian?
Yes, he ran.
That's where I knew Joe Exotic from.
Joe Exotic. I have not seen the full show. I have seen 5 of the 7 episodes. I finally caved because my friends would not stop talking about it in spades and sending me memes and what have you. But it was, I think one of the things that really makes the show, like, is just the pure entertainment value. Like, a lot of times I think the Zeitgeist shows, they can be good for a bit and they just get, like, really boring or, like, kind of, like, can divulge into, like, self-parody or what have you. Or I'm just like, I don't know why you guys think this is good, like that kind of thing. But I think one of the really unique things about the Tiger King is that it's such a weirdly unavoidable show, and it's kind of like become this like cultural milestone of this year, and it's about entirely true events. I think that's why it's so captivating. Is like just watching it, I probably my mouth was open about 4 or 5 different times at how ridiculous the cast of characters are. It's like they're playing fictionalized versions of themselves, but it's real because it's a documentary. And there's this like a culture in the United States that I just never knew existed, was like, having like these, game animals and what, tigers and lions. And there's a character that rides an elephant, and I shit you not, he rides an elephant around his like giant animal zoo complex. I wish I was lying, because there's some weird stuff going on in this show.
I think it's funny that's your take on it, because I just they did a bonus episode of Behind the Bastards where Robert and Billy Wayne Davis, who's like his most constant guest, they're both Southerners, and they were talking about how their reaction to Tiger King was like, yeah, we grew up around these people. Like, I guess this is sort of like a Southern culture thing, like this owning game animal shit. Like, that's just like completely foreign to most of the rest of the country, but it like is just commonplace down there. They're like, yeah, we grew up around this. What's so surprising about this?
And I think it's definitely a cultural thing, because you have got to imagine that like most of what drives stuff is people that are living in the East Coast or the West Coast, and that's where the shock would come. I mean, I've been an East Coast person my whole life, so I didn't know. I knew that it was like illegal. It became illegal at some point to do all this, and yet there are still people like who have, like kind of not off-brand zoos, because they have like the same animals as zoos will have, but it's just like kind of homegrown zoos, and with these huge amount of property and things like that, and they're making a ton of, well, some of them are making a ton of money from this sort of stuff, and it just I guess it might not be cool or interesting if you grew up around those people, but to me, I find it entertaining because I had no idea.
There was a Law and Order SVU about this exact topic, where they also had as the false lead for the villain, they had a studio gangster rapper named Gott's Money, who collected illegally obtained animals. Eventually, it was like a Russian mobster who was like bringing them in or something. But yeah.
Is Gott's Money a white person's idea of what a rapper is like?
I think he was supposed to be like Gucci, but he just kind of played but he did not play it like Gucci. But I think that was the idea of what they were going for. They should have gotten for it. It would have been perfect.
This when Ice-T was on Law and Order?
Yeah, Ice-T has been on Law and Order for like ever. I think he still is. He is like one of the only original. Well, he wasn't original. He came on the second season, but he might as well be. Mm-hmm. But he's like one of the few like old cast members left at this point. He actually got them to do a Gamergate episode, I think, because he's a huge.
Wait, that is incredible.
Yeah, where the enemies were a website called Red Chan.
Oh my god, no fucking way.
I'm pretty certain of this.
This came out a couple years ago, probably, right?
Yeah, it came out like too late to be of any cultural relevance. But
I cannot believe they made it. That's awesome. I gotta find that. So yeah, but outside of that, I haven't really been watching any TV or movies, honestly.
yeah, I have. Yeah, it's pretty much mostly been books and music for me too. My wife's really been into the new Animal Crossing game. I'll say that much because we got a Switch out here now, and I bought a few games for it, but I haven't really had time to play any of them because whenever she's around, she's playing it,
Right.
and when I'm obviously I work a lot, and so I have not. When I'm home, I mostly just want to listen to music or read. So yeah, so I haven't really gotten much time with it, but. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely not watched anything new. I've still been watching. I think we talked about this like the last time we did a show, which is still not up, but still watching Veronica Mars season 3, which I think I just started when we last talked, and
Right.
I'm like halfway through it. So I only watch it on my days off, and it's I guess I haven't gotten far enough that I have more to say about it. It's still good. The second season is better. I still recommend watching it because it's definitely closer to like prestige, like higher end television than most of the stuff that was on network TV at the time, and I can understand why it got canceled. But it's also like one of those examples of like a third season where you can totally see that like they were desperate to stay on the air, and or the network was like giving them a lot of notes and suggestions and shit. Because they
Yeah.
changed a little bit. They like changed up the pace. Like the first 2 seasons were like season long arcs that had like stories of the week along the way, but like every week they also forwarded the season long arc a little bit. Whereas this one had like half a season was an arc, and then the other half of the season's an arc, but they have a lot more like I don't know. I don't want to like in the event that somebody actually does watch the show, I don't want to say anything like spoilery or whatever, as I don't want to bore people with like plot details from a 15-year-old show. uh, even though they did recently bring it back, so it's technically not 15 years old.
And
But
honestly, they bring everything back these days. So you're like
Freya,
the
which is
likelihood of that show being relevant, like you never know.
true.
But it's funny you mentioned 15-plus-year-old show because everyone, I mean, a couple of my good friends watched it for the first time, and it seems like everybody on my Twitter timeline is doing like a Sopranos rewatch, just for whatever reason. So, and I haven't. I went through and watched the show once when I was in high school, and I haven't watched it since then. So I might be something I give a shot again this year. I mean, I loved it, but I only watched it once all the way through. So I probably picked up on more stuff.
Yeah, I've only watched it once all the way through, but I've seen some episodes multiple times. I've been trying to get my wife to watch it forever now, and she says she wants to and will, but we never start it because she never says she's in the mood for something depressing. And I'm like, yeah, it gets pretty depressing, but it's also fucking hilarious too. That's the thing.
Right. No, there's plenty of like, it's got some of the best characters in television history. I mean,
That is for sure. It's just that's another thing about the West Wing podcast I listen to with Dave from the Dollop and Josh Olson. I think it is. West Wing thing is like they are always comparing it to like because I guess there's this myth the West Wing is like the beginning of prestige television, whereas like the Sopranos beat it to the air by 9 months.
yeah.
And I guess the idea is that okay, the West Wing is on network TV or whatever, but they're always comparing like what the West Wing is doing is to what the Sopranos was doing at the same time period, and how like the West Wing is just like the same hacky old like outdated television shit as like 20, 30 years ago, sometimes even worse. Whereas like The Sopranos was actually like doing something new and challenging at like the same time. So
Yeah, I think the West, like, just comparing like who made it. I mean, we know that, in my opinion anyway, like Sorkin is he can do one thing well, and it doesn't work when you have something like The West Wing, where was it like 6 seasons, 7 seasons? It was a long time, and like
all of
this,
them, I think, but he was there for like 4 or 5 of them, I think. Yeah.
right? So you're like actually living with these characters and like developing them, and that the scope is bigger than like a movie like The Social Network, where it's like that is right up his alley, as limited as his alley is. Like, he was good. His stuff was good for that movie, and it was terrible for The West Wing, and not great on some other stuff, like The Newsroom.
Well, I mean, there's just he's. I can't get over the fact that he made fucking a remake To Kill a Mockingbird as like a woke thing with like a drunk Atticus Finch and like like it. And it's doing like record numbers because people are so fucking stupid.
People are stupid. He's a big name. People will go see something made by him.
And then they will go and like during like the intermission in the lobby and buy Trayvon hoodies for $300.
Right. Is that actually real, or is that? I mean,
oh, that's real. That's real. You should listen to the one I put it in the when I listened to it. I put it in the fucking politics channel of the Discord or whatever. But they do an episode of the West Wing thing with the producer from Chapo. I forget what his name was. Like he sounded like a little kid. He sounded way younger than everybody else on Chapo.
I think his name's Chris. That might be wrong.
That actually sounds like it might be right, but I guess he went and saw this play, and he gave like a review of the whole experience. And yeah, and like there was like a whole woke merchandise section, and there were hoodies that just said Trayvon on them, and you could buy. And they were like for $300 because I guess one of the actors had like a whole like woke merch thing that he was doing as like a side hustle that he was selling like at the performances.
Good God, that is absolutely horrifying.
And they also like apparently rewrote a character into the script, like the black maid or whatever of like Atticus Finch's family or whatever has been rewritten to be like angry and sassy and like talk back to him and shit. Because Aaron Sorkin felt like this movie about like blacks in the South in the 1930s didn't feature enough angry black voices. So this white man from 2020 is like, you know, like telling blacks from the 30s how to be angrier.
Exactly. He's like, how could you guys not be angry at segregation? Like, I don't get it.
Why weren't you like getting up and, you know, rioting and shit?
Why weren't you breaking out into song every so often?
So, yeah, it sounds atrocious. And Jeff, like I said, Jeff Bridges, Atticus Finch, or whatever, sounds just like the hyper chicken from Futurama. The hyper chicken.
Jeff, I want to know how big the check was for Jeff Bridges.
I've seen some of his interviews that he's done about this, and he sounds like he really believes in it. So he's like either selling it really well, or it's like a passion project for him.
I mean, I'm sure that he put effort into it. I mean, the guy's a pro actor.
Wasn't he on the Newsroom too? Wasn't he the main guy on the Newsroom?
No, that was Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels. Oh, okay.
Jeff Daniels, noticeably not as good of an actor as Jeff Bridges.
Very much so.
I think he's most famous for the Newsroom. Yeah, he is. He was in Dumb and Dumber, but
I was about to say I knew him from something else, and it's like, oh yeah, Dumb and Dumber, much better than
much better than the Newsroom. Yeah,
better speeches, but
yeah, in the Newsroom he's like the conservative news anchor who's like a Republican, but like occasionally he has these come to Jesus moments where he'll like side with the Democrats.
Yeah,
and that's how it's pitched.
I've never watched the Newsroom, and I've never really watched The West Wing either. But this podcast like just convinced me about like how like I've seen enough of The West Wing to know that it was bad, but I didn't quite know how bad. They like do a weekly misogyny rundown because the show has the worst writing for women I've ever heard of, like in anything.
It's really not good. Like it's probably I haven't watched it in a couple of years. I can only imagine just in 2020.
They quoted one tweet about how if Aaron Sorkin was writing the story of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that she would constantly be falling down the steps of Congress.
I think, yeah, that, and I'm pretty sure it was a couple years ago, but Chapo has some bit about the West Wing that was had a similar like theme. So.
Because there was one episode they covered recently where one of the main plots involved two separate women sitting in a bench that had wet paint on it, so they had to change their clothes. Because women were too stupid to know that if you sit on a bench with wet paint on it, you ruin your clothes.
Yeah. Also, that's just a horribly dull topic for an episode.
This was a show written in 1999. That's like a gag from like a fucking silent movie. That's like a Fatty Arbuckle gag.
Yeah. That's a Buster Keaton gag.
Yeah, that's pretty mothballed material there.
God, I could come up with better jokes than that, and I'm not funny at all, so I can't. Like,
Yeah, that's the other thing is like Dave gets routinely more like the show's supposed to be like exposing the horrible politics of the West Wing and how it made like a lot of it's spent shitting on Pete Buttigieg because he's like a huge West Wing fan and like we'll talk about how he went to West Wing parties and stuff. And the most recent episode actually quotes from his biography that he wrote, which sounds like the most nauseating thing ever. Autobiography, I should say. But they all write autobiographies. I shouldn't be surprised that he already had one out. But what was it? It was about fucking. Before I started thinking about Pete, I completely lost my train of thought.
you were comparing.
It was about this is great radio. What the fuck was I talking about? It was a West Wing thing, obviously, but it was like
There's an episode. They were talking about an episode because it's supposed to like expose the horrible politics of the show, but
yeah, but Dave gets more mad about how bad the comedy is on the show than the politics.
right.
Like the quality of the comedy writing makes him even angrier than the. But the show's politics are mainly about like the point of the show. Like they're always talking about how like it's this fantasy world like where it's supposedly written by liberals about like an idealized Clinton White House, basically where you can do whatever you want, and the liberals like are always just like giving shit away and being conciliatory and like this is like a dangerous fantasy, and this is why the right always walks all over the fucking left in this country.
Yeah.
Just like because people like grew up like all these Obama people grew up idolizing the show, and then they have this philosophy drummed in their heads about like let's play nice. It's like the other side does not play nice with you. Like you just want to give pretty speeches, and they will just fucking cut your throat.
Exactly. And the president in the show is like, which I find funny that Martin Sheen has better politics than the president that he plays in the show. Which is great.
Very true.
Which is great. A plus for him. I hope that check was massive. Anyway. Yeah, the president in the show is like the ideal, like centrist kind of like, he's like, he can live with abortion, but he loves his country, he loves God, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's just so fucking pandering, and like it's
people that love the West Wing are some of the worst type of people in my book. So,
and apparently it has enjoyed like a revival of popularity in the Trump era because people are just like they want that back, they want that era back.
People die for bipartisanship. I'm just like, what are you doing?
That ship has sailed. It was never really there to begin with, but if even the illusion of that ship has sailed at this point, like, gotta let it go.
No, I definitely agree.
So anyway, musically, I guess we should just start with favorite music of the year, and then anything else that you would enjoy, and we can just tack on to the end there because I don't know.
Yeah, sure. That works.
I guess the first thing I can think of is the first thing that of any significance came out this year was the Denzel Kenny Beats EP, Unlocked.
Yeah, what's funny? I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day who's really into rap, and he was saying we were going over like rap, and I don't know how Denzel came up, but I was telling him that no matter. It is kind of unfair to Denzel, but like no matter what Denzel does, I don't think he'll top like Imperial for me. And as much as I love Taboo, and I think his album last year was actually kind of a little bit underrated, just because I think people were just like, "Oh, he just made a good rap album." I'm like, well, yeah, he made a good rap album. It's kind of like when Kendrick did Damn. I mean, Damn's better, but that's kind of what I'm comparing it to. Is like he dropped the concept album with Taboo, the High, the one that got him a lot of new fans, right? And people that were like, intellectual about rap music. And then he just dropped a really good rap album right after. And they're like, oh, he's just rapping. I'm like, well, it's still good. That's kind of, and then he did this album, which to me, I feel like he was listening to like a lot of like MF Doom before listening, like stuff like that before listening to this album. I might be off base, but it seemed like this was like his nerd rap album.
I mean, everyone was saying that it was like the Trap Man villainy on RYM, and I don't really hear that. I mean, I guess just because the way it's set up a little bit with the short songs and like the compact length. I kind of maybe the structure, but I mean he's just kind of rapping like Denzel throughout. Like I don't really.
Yeah, I don't think he's rapping like MF Doom or anything like that. I just think that he
maybe maybe he was listening to MF Doom in terms of how he wanted the album to sound, like the construction of the album, not the rapping. So yeah, I get what you're saying more. So, but yeah, I just thought it was just.
I thought it was great as usual with Denzel.
Yeah, it was great. And it doesn't really sound like any of his, like none of his projects really sound like any with his other projects. Like that, I think they're all distinctive from each other. Like Imperial doesn't sound like Taboo, doesn't sound like Zoo, doesn't sound like this.
Absolutely, and Imperial doesn't sound like Nostalgic 64 or 32 Zell. So I really think none of his projects, except maybe the two very early ones, the two very early Raider Clan ones. But I mean, that was those.
After reading the Passion of the Weiss Raider Clan piece, I downloaded those because I realized I hadn't heard those yet. I hadn't heard those. I hadn't heard any Amber London stuff. And there's like a million perp tapes I haven't heard, so I downloaded more of those. But
yeah, no, that was a really great piece. And yeah, I agree with your point 100%. I don't think any of Denzel's like any of his projects really sound like on it. And he's just super talented. Like I don't think he's gonna put out something that I don't like, unless it's obviously like below the standard well below the standard that he set for himself. Because I think he's just, once again, this is like kind of like not what Zoo was in production, but what Zoo was, I think, in how he was going about it. Like he's just kind of rapping for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes on this thing.
Not even. I don't think it's 20. I think it's like, if it's 20, it's only a little over 20.
It's 18 minutes basically.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it kind of keeps up the same energy because he put out that Blood In, Blood Out mix at the beginning of the year, which was crazy as well. Yeah. Like, I feel like that was like a great way for him to just start off the year. And it has energy throughout. Like, these tons of hype flows. Like, I know people get on him sometimes about having corny lyrics. I can't really point to any that I stand out as being particularly corny on here. I'm sure there are probably one or two lines that are a little whatever, but he has a way, like I think Horse was the one who put it, that he has a way of delivering corny shit and making it sound hype, which would be like, I'm trying to think of who has the opposite skill of where they can say something like hype but make it sound corny. Like that might be J. Cole or Joey Badass. Nice line, technically nice line, but it sounds corny as fuck. But and Diet is probably one of my favorite songs of the year for sure. That would be my standout on here, but the whole thing flows together really well. It's like really repeatable. Like, if I listen to it, I'm probably gonna listen to it twice.
Right, because they're all so short. There's only one track that's over 3 minutes.
So it's got like that kind of some rap songs quality to it for me, where it's definitely going to get listened to twice in one session, full at least.
Right, and I think it's interesting that with relation to Kenny, I was looking at like his credits, last night, and he's really done work with a lot of people, but I feel like his album collaborations are like his best, like contributions, like the tape with Key a couple years ago, the Rico Nasty tape,
Netflix and Deal.
Yeah, the one with Greedo, right, and then this one with Denzel. Like, not that his production on other beats isn't also great, but just I think those are like his strongest statements versus when he just gives like one beat.
I didn't know this until somebody mentioned it on RYM. He did FM with
Yep.
I did not know. I thought FM was like a whole bunch of different producers because the way the concept of it was supposed to be like the radio, and he did such a good job with the concept that I thought it was just a bunch of different producers.
Yeah, I think he's on every track on that. Almost every track. He's on 10 of the 11 tracks. So, I mean, yeah, he
invents great fucking Tyga parts.
Yeah, he invents some great chemistry because Vince has done his show, like his little YouTube show.
Seems like they have the same sense of humor. So.
Yeah, I think you're right for pointing that as like the first real standout project this year because I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and that DJ mix too. If anyone hasn't listened to that, the Blood In Blood Out mix, that's only like 12 minutes long, but so you can probably listen to this and that back to back, and you can kind of see how how the mix kind of influenced the sounds he's going for in this, and why he released that before this as like a appetizer, I guess. I'm expecting probably at least one more project from him before the year's out. Like it seems like he's definitely gearing up to release something bigger.
Oh, especially now that we got all this time on our hands.
Exactly, everybody's releasing more shit. So
I mean, 2020 was already going to be a packed year for music, and might as well just throw that to the window.
All right, so what do you got as your first pick?
First pick. I
started in order, by the way. It's just whatever you think of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was going to say just off the top that I think the Pop Smoke album is definitely worth people's time, even obviously in light of that, his passing and the tragedy around that. But that was an early, it was a January tape, I believe, and that was an album that got a lot of play for me. I was going to mention the Mac Miller album. Speaking of posthumous,
that's a great album. I've only listened to it like 2 or 3 times in full because it's kind of a heavy listen, but it's remarkably well done. I think it's probably better than Swimming. I've listened to Swimming way more, but I think it's probably better. Like John Bryan did a hell of there's a great interview. I forget where it was posted, but John Bryan did a hell of it, putting it together because he originally struggled with whether or not he was going to actually work on it because he thought it might be disrespectful to actually finish. He had to get the clearance from Mac's family and everything.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's probably my second favorite Mac Miller project.
Behind what? Behind Faces?
Yeah, behind Faces. Just because I haven't listened to it as much as Face. I guess, and this is not like a disrespect thing. I just like happier Mac Miller, in a sense.
Faces is not a happy tape.
I mean, it's not happy. That's the wrong word. Happy is the wrong word.
I understand what you mean. Swimming in Circles are very downbeat. There's a lot more variety of moods on Faces. Although some of those moods are pretty bleak, but
yeah, I like what he's doing on that tape, and I love the instrumentals.
I actually moved Faces to a 10 earlier this year. I decided that was his 110 album because it just clicked with me one day because I used to think it was too long, but then I listened to it. I'm like, there's not a bad track on here. Every track has such a fully realized concept, and the beats are incredible.
The beats are amazing.
Both the Earl features are the feature list too. Is really really well chosen. Both the Earl features are 2 of his best songs, both his Mac or Earl's.
Yeah, and the Vince track. Yeah.
Even the Mike Jones track.
Hey man, he's Mike Jones.
Yeah, it's probably as far as the new one goes, as far as Circles goes, I'd say that's probably up there for John Bryan with the Spoon album he worked on and Late Registration in terms of production. Yeah,
no, everything was very meticulous. You could tell they could have put that album out a little earlier, but you could tell the attention to detail was there, and it panned out. I didn't expect the album to be as good as it was, honestly.
I didn't either, but Good News was, when I heard Good News, I was like, this is definitely going to be at least on level with Swimming, because Good News is such a good single.
Yeah, Good News is fantastic. And that's, you're right, that did tip me off too. I was like, you know what? This is probably going to be great. I wasn't anticipating that. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm listening to the Mac Miller album now.
I mean, it came out on the same day as the Mac Miller album. We can both agree was another one of the highlights of the year was the Eminem album, Music to Be Murdered. Definitely proved that he was a spitter as on this album, as he said in the first line.
Yeah.
Really, really good album. 20 tracks of nothing but quality. Definitely needed to be as long as it was.
Definitely music to be murdered by,
Yep.
Music to be murdered to. At this point.
The Ed Sheeran track, the strip definitely the world needed a track for the strip club with him, and Eminem, and Ed Sheeran.
You know, Ed Sheeran is the personification of sex, right? Just the human embodiment.
And you definitely want to hear Eminem in a strip club under any circumstances.
You know, honestly, fuck listening to anything else. I just want Eminem on repeat. Give me Encore in the strip club.
Big weenie or fat.
Oh my god. I'm just horrified.
Yeah, that was probably the worst album. Like, just to get that discussion out of the way, that was probably the worst album I've heard this year. So I can't think of any other outright trash I've heard this year. That was trash. Oh no, the Royce album was also trash.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I listened to the Green Day, but you know, I mean, I gave 2 tracks a shot, and I was like, I am gonna give this a 1 star on principle. So there we go.
And yeah, I thought they were bitches for censoring their album title, and
you have been proven right. Yeah.
I mean, even though naming an album title that like this late in your career is like a real fuck you dad move from like millionaires, like you're like 50-year-old millionaires, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna put fuck in our album title. It's like,
yeah, we're punk guys. And I got to this album late, a couple months late, but because Guilty Conscious is one of my favorite songs of the year.
Oh, yeah.
The Shake album is good.
It's really, really good. It's front to back, incredibly well produced. Mike Dean definitely like engineered the shit out of this album. Lyrically, I think it's really good. It's more than just the singles. I mean, I like this. I mean, Guilty Conscience is way better than the early singles, which were I forget the name. Well, like they came out last year. Like I think only one was on. Were both on the album. I don't feel like looking.
I don't know what else is still because I only heard Guilty Conscience before the album.
Guilty Conscience definitely like came out much later and is much better, but I don't know. I don't feel like going to my laptop. But there were 2 other singles which are still good, but not as good as Guilty Conscience, and it just has this like really nice futuristic sound to it that doesn't feel gimmicky at all. Like, and I forget, somebody on RYM said it kind of sounds like Post Malone but female and good. And
well, it's funny. The comment box is a lot of Kid Cudi talk, which is
I could also there's like a Man on the Moon sort of sound to it. I guess you get that out of the futuristic whole concept and vibe that she's going for. But I mean, she doesn't do as much like non-verbal stuff as Cudi, and she's not as. I mean, there's a depressive sort of sound to her, but it's not as like outright depressed as a lot of Cudi's stuff.
No, for sure. I mean, Cudi, I think it's a lot more transparent. I think here you kind of have to read into the lyrics because I don't think the sound of this album is downbeat or anything like that.
I also think Cudi's stuff is a little more rooted in hip hop than this is. This feels definitely more on the R&B side of things, alt R&B, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an R&B record.
Where she does rap delivery and stuff, but it's not like Cudi's still like coming from a rapper's perspective, whereas I think she's doing it more from a singing perspective. I do see the comparison though.
I think
she's really good in the hook role. Like when Kanye like, initially brought her in during the Wyoming sessions, like to do like Santeria and that hook on the Nas album and all that shit. Like I thought she did really well on all those, and Ghost Town, of course.
Of course. I mean, I think it definitely has more of like an R&B and like kind of like a synth pop-y type feel on, but I think that she's definitely really talented, and I like the album. I don't think I like it quite as much as you, but Guilty Conscience is in my top 5 for songs this year, though. So,
and there's also if you like this, there's also Impossible Nothing did a remix album version of the album. It's free on Bandcamp. It's like Inspectorus Noctum or something. I don't know. It's just look up Impossible Nothing on Bandcamp. He's been doing a lot of like remixes of like recently released albums. Did one of the Eminem album, which I'll never listen to because that involves listening to another version of the Eminem album. Did one of the J Electronic album, which I haven't listened to yet, but I have. Did both of the Kanye albums from last year. This is the best of the ones I've heard so far. So it's nice companion piece to the album if you've listened to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you were thinking of throwing something out on your end.
oh yeah, no, I'll say the Guided by Voices album, Surrender Your Poppy Field.
Which I haven't heard, but I heard it's good.
Yeah, I mean, they're consistently always putting out good shit, and this is yet another one. Kind of sounds more like their 90s stuff than a lot of the stuff they've done since the comeback, kind of like Under the Bushes, Under the Stars, especially the single Volcano. But yeah, it's not as packed with, it's more fully developed songs than snippetier songs. Like, you're getting stuff in the 2 to 3 minute range, which is almost long for them. It's only 15 tracks. It's not one of the big double album behemoths. So I think it's like if you feel kind of overwhelmed by some of this, like the volume of the content they put out, then this might be a good place to start. There's like tons of hooks. Cul-de-sac Kids is probably the standout song, and Volcano, which was the single, and the very first song too is fucking killer. So it's only like a little over 40 minutes. Highly recommend it. It's great for the spring weather. It's tons of energy. It's probably one of the 2 really good rock albums I've heard this year. The other one I'll get to later, which is probably pretty obvious at this point. But
right. And I haven't heard that one either, even though a bunch of people have told me to listen to it. So I am going to. I guess I'll counter your rock album with one. I mean, this is more emo, like old post-hardcore, but the Dogleg album is excellent and kind of came to me. I know it has a bunch of ratings on RYM, but I hadn't heard of it until like 2 weeks after it came out. And it's definitely the best emo record I've heard in a while. I have some.
Never, guys.
Yeah.
Dogleg.
Dogleg is the band. Yeah, the record's called Melee, I believe. And I found out about it because it was on a couple of lists like that I was like just logs that I follow from people, and they had like recommended it. Like I know Travis really likes it. I know Look at Ghost really likes it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna listen to it, and it kind of like knocked me back a little bit. Like it's a quick record. It's like 35 minutes, 10 tracks, and the guitar playing the riffs are super fucking good. The vocals are like, they have that like post-hardcore quality where like they can be kind of yelly at times. I know it's not a word, but like they're kind of upper register. But it's really, it's a thing where you can still tangibly hear what they're saying, and like the hooks are way better than like I thought were gonna happen going in. And I've been playing it a lot actually. Like probably the most played rock record I've listened to all year, which doesn't say that much, but in that small grouping, I've played that one the most. I definitely recommend it. If anyone's looking for a really good emo record, definitely check that one out.
I will take you up on that actually, because I haven't listened to a good emo record in a while. I was actually listening to 3 Mile Pilot last week because I was kind of getting the itch to listen to something emo, and they're really good if you like post-hardcore type stuff, like really long post-hardcore songs. I don't know if you ever listened to them, but
I've heard of them, but I haven't listened to them now.
I'm trying to think of what else this year I really liked. There was the Koopma beat tape, which I'm forgetting the name of off the top of my head. I should probably just go to my laptop. I wanted to do this from my laptop, but that didn't want to take my Skype account. Well, yeah, Koopma put out an EP that was really good. I've been listening to a lot of beat tapes on Bandcamp lately, but they've mostly been on older side. Oh yeah, there was August Fanon, I don't know how you pronounce it, and I forgot his name, Iceberg Theory put out a really good album. And I cannot pronounce the name of it. It's like Rinpoche. I'm looking up their Bandcamp right now. It's Rinpoche. I do not know how to pronounce the album, but August Fanon is one of my favorite producers. He's done a lot of stuff for Arm & Hammer, and now he's been working a lot with this dude, Iceberg Theory, who shout out to Charnsuka from the chat for getting me into him. He's if you like a Kai Solo, Billy Woods, Elucid, you definitely like Iceberg Theory. He's also kind of reminiscent of Ka in terms of like the literary sort of approach that he takes. He has a little more energy than Ka, not quite as deliberate, but still in kind of that. If you don't like him, you'd probably think he's monotone. But Bannon's beats are outstanding, like always. So if you like, and they're pretty much in the same vein of the stuff he was doing for Arm & Hammer. So it's like a little left field, very dark. Sample, like, unexpected sample choices. So, very wintry, very lyrical. I've only listened to it a few times, but it's one of the best. Like, I just wanted to kind of give that some shine in case, because I don't think too many people have heard of it yet. I'm looking to see how many people have bought it on. Yeah, like, it doesn't look like too many people have bought it on Bandcamp, so. I mean, they're kind of charging a rare art price for it, like $15. Come on, guys, but I bought it. So.
Well, I mean, I guess, it's as long as it's working out for him with, got to charge what you got to charge, I guess. I don't know what the usual album price on Bandcamp is.
It's like normally like $7 to $10, and I'm not going to shame anybody for charging what they think their art is worth. So
sure.
That's, I'm just saying that might be a little off-putting for some people. Although I've tried personally, and I'm not trying to, like humble brag to my own horn about. But it's just like I've tried to support people more on Bandcamp lately, considering that I know a lot of like artists' revenue streams are like completely dried up right now.
Right.
So I buy a lot more on. Also, I know that Bandcamp has been doing specials lately where they're not taking their like fee for artists some days. They're just giving 100% of like the cut to the artists. So, which I thought was a pretty nice gesture.
It is cool.
So yeah, the Iceberg. I thought of the Iceberg Theory August Fannin album once, but I should really learn how to pronounce it. They just put out a new one today that I have not heard. That's only $7 called Sophia Perennis. There's a really cool cover, which I'm probably going to buy right now. So yeah, that one's really good. Again, if you like Billy Woods or Kai Solo, I mentioned him. He also has a new one out this year that I have not gotten to listen to as much as I would like. That's also really good. Obviously, same sort of scene, like the whole. Oh fuck! How did I forget? My favorite rap album this year was the Shrapnel album, Curly Castro and Cream Rock, which is on Billy Wood's label, Backwood Studios. It's entirely produced by Lucid. It is really, really fucking good. It's essentially the same sort of deal as Arm & Hammer, but a little more lyrically direct. Really, like, just fucking assault, like verbal assault in terms of rap. Like, but with very, I don't want to say abrasive production, but it's kind of challenging production.
Mm-hmm.
They put out an EP before this from last December that would probably be a good starting point because it's a little more approachable, and because I feel like this is definitely a very dense listen if you have like to just go right into. But I loved it. But I really love everything that's been like, because basically this is a kind of a merging of the styles of like Billy Woods and Elucid, like the Arm & Hammer stuff, and like Zilla Rocca and like the Wrecking Crew stuff.
Right.
So
it's right up your alley.
Exactly. It's pretty much tailored for me to like. So it's no surprise I would consider this like my favorite rap album this year so far, but I can't argue like it's going to be for everybody. But it seems to be like really popular in the hip hop thread, the hip hop general thread. So
yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh, I should listen to it because I do really like both of those guys that you mentioned. So it's just tough. I have to be in like a mood for that kind of hip hop. Like I really do. So
yeah, that's the thing. Is like I can't say that I've listened to it like every single day because it is like a little much to listen to every day. But it is like when I do want to listen, when I do have an urge to listen to that specific sort of rap, it is the best. It's like probably what's hitting the hardest for that. So in quite a while. So yeah, I can't recommend that one enough.
I'm gonna say going off of if we're gonna do that kind of tree, I think we might. I don't know if we disagree on this album or not. I know I like it more than you do, but I think the Alchemist and Boldy James release is really fucking good.
I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh, I thought you did, and you said you didn't like Boldy on it. My bad.
I don't like. No, I haven't like. I found him boring on previous Alchemist stuff, and I haven't listened to this one yet because I find him boring on like I find him kind of boring.
Right.
But I heard it's really good.
Yeah, I know it's like a minor point of contention for some people on RYM, but I think his flow is a little monotone for sure. It doesn't put me off, and I actually still really like what he's saying on the tracks, and the features are absolutely ridiculous.
Oh no, the feature list on that is like insane.
I just will say that all of them will live up to your expectations. Like Vince, to me, steals the show on that track, even though Boldy's really good on it. The Scrape the Bowl track of Benny the Butcher is prime hoodie music. Like the track with Freddie, I mean, Freddie, I don't even know why you put track anymore at this point. So yeah, I love Alchemist, and I know we both do, and I love his soundscapes and how he makes beats, and just from looking at that album, like I knew that it was gonna be like my shit, like a lot of drug talk, a lot of like, coded kind of like gangster rap merged with like a little bit of like nocturnally like drug related rap in there. Like that was just gonna be for me. So.
Well, speaking of Alchemist and hoodie music and all that, I'll counter that with another thing he put out this year with Conway, Lulu.
Yep.
Lulu, which was probably one of the best things I've heard from Griselda yet. And they've just been putting out nothing but quality shit. So it's not quite on the level of Tana Talk 3 or Plugs I Met from Benny, but it's very close. Like it's just 7 or 8 tracks. I forget how long. It's like really economical. Conway has been like on fire for the past year or so. Like especially like everything he put out in the past 6 months. He's really stepped up his like delivery, his lyrics, everything. Like I almost feel like he has seen that all the praise that Benny has gotten for like being the lyrical one in the crew, and decided going to try. He's sick of seeing it, and that he's going to put out like he wants that title. He seems really fucking hungry, and it comes across on this project. So
yeah, and he's. I played the project once through when it came out. I didn't rate it for whatever reason, but it was really good. I mean, the track with Schoolboy is a lot of fun. He's just like, I mean, also he coaxed a great verse out of Cormega also.
Oh yeah, that was great. Great to see. That was a real throwback.
Right, and they kind of make sense, that pairing. It was cool.
Well, he's always had that ability to do that because he had some tracks with Prodigy too before Prodigy died. That were some of Prodigy's better late period stuff.
No, he's. I think what Griselda's doing right now is and the other guys in Griselda have raised their level. Like Benny came out of the gate and was like the best one, I think. But I think on that most recent tape they did like together, and then
what would Nine Gun do on?
Yeah, that one. I think that like both of them, and like you said, both of them raised their level, and Conway, excuse me, has been on fire lately. So yeah.
Well, they did do it. They actually did have a picture on IG with Kanye. So I'm wondering if they'll actually do a track. Like they did. Benny did do a track with Pusha, so he might have like set something up.
You're right. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me actually. You get Kanye on like his Daytona numbers on the boards type stuff. I could see it.
No, that would be something. That would be pretty cool to see. And it would like Kanye's always pretty good about staying up on like who's relevant and getting on a track with them, so therefore keep himself relevant. Although it would be debatable how much he cares about that right now, since he's doing his church music shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it remains to be seen yet with Kanye.
So I was actually looking at his RYM page to see if he'd done any features since he did the No More Secular Music thing, and he hasn't actually. He has not done a single feature since like I think his last. I'm trying to think of what his last feature was actually. And it was definitely for like a good music artist, so it wasn't like anything.
It had to be.
It might have even been What Would Meek Do?
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like,
Well, What Would Meek Do, or something on the NASA, or Cops. Like one of the Wyoming ones, Cop Shot the Cop. Why can't I fucking pronounce it? Cops Shot the Kid,
yeah.
or the song on the Tiana album.
Right. Okay. It was something in that Wyoming headspace.
Yeah, like I don't think he's done anything after those. So yeah,
Oh, that
I
is.
don't know about productions though, like that he would have done for anybody. But
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty quiet up until Jesus is King, like in 2019, that is.
right. I mean,
So,
well, he kept providing. Well, he was doing all the Yanni revisions, and then
right,
he switched. Then he started doing the Sunday service stuff, which became the Jesus is King stuff.
right. So it was a lot of like working on his own stuff. Yeah. I guess
So
something I'll throw out is the obligatory Caleb electronic music release plug, which is, I mean, he's a pretty big at this point, but the Against All Logic record is great. Not quite as good as the first one, but the first one to me is outstanding. So this one falling a little short of that there's nothing against this album. Like, it's great, and it's like a different style. It's not like he just made the same like deep house kind of, music. It's a lot more of like, there's like a little bit of like industrial hints and like techno hints in there. And I'm bad with like electronic music subgenres and describing them, but it's a lot more it's more varied than even I thought would happen. Like, it's different from 2012 to 2017 or whatever. 2012 to 2017 was the first one. This one is 9 tracks from the last couple years. Nick Jar continues to be one of the best in the game, and he put his own solo album out this year, which was good too.
yep, I haven't heard that one either, and I should definitely get around to it. I really did like the previous one, although I didn't like rank it as high as a lot of people, just because I didn't listen to it as much. But I thought it was really high quality. So I guess throw an electronic one out for myself. It won't be a single release, but just an artist pay a whole body of work, because he's put out like 20 things this year. Would be Celer. I don't know, Celer. I don't know how you pronounce it. Celer. Will Long, who puts out ambient music on Bandcamp. He was quiet for, like, he was known for being super prolific. He's like insanely RYM core in the vein of like Full of Heaven or Natural Snow Buildings or something, and then he has like 200 albums out. And he was quiet for a lot of 2019, but I guess with the quarantine and everything, he's flooded the market in 2020, and he's put out like tons of great ambient stuff that is mostly pay what you care to. I think it might all be pay what you want to. And he's also put out some really good house music, minimal house, under his own name, Will Long, which is like $2 or $3 for a single, but the singles are like 20 minutes long. So I recommend both. The minimal house tracks are all named after colors, I believe, and they come out once a month. So he's done like he's done 3 this year so far, and they go back to last November, and they're all really cool too. They're a definite different side of his sound. He had put out a dark ambient album under Celer, but it's mostly just like ambient soundscape stuff.
I'm looking at his page right now, and it's interesting because he had an album last year that was like really well received apparently on OIM, so I'm definitely gonna listen to that. And
or whatever, the one with the Chinese title.
hold on, it's yeah. It's like the ambient like field recordings, like
like most of his stuff falls under that, like ambient field recordings, tape loops. Yeah, he's really good. Like one of those artists that if you listen to one thing, you'll end up listening to 100 by. And he makes it very easy because he often puts his stuff up for free on Bandcamp. So there's really no, like, it's very easy to access a large amount of his music. So that's good stuff to sleep to, good stuff to, chill, study type beat type things.
right.
You're just looking for background music. And there's actually a surprising amount of variety. Like, it all falls into a lot of the same genres, but there's a surprising amount of variety in what he does in terms of, like, some of it's tape loop, some of it's straight ambient, some of it's drone. Which, if you're conditioned to think anything like that all sounds the same, I guess it would all sound the same. But there is, like, variation there. So I'm trying to think of the one really, really good. I gotta forget the page. Yeah, there's one release of his that's from like 10 years ago, because it used to be a husband and wife project when it started, and then his wife died, and now it's just been him for like the past 10 years. But they had one project that was, I think, universally agreed upon as the best, and I think it was when they were both alive. 176 albums, goddamn.
Yeah. It's quite the daunting discography. I'm looking at it.
I have everything in the nothing at 9. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm actually like lost on the page trying to find the one that I would say is the. I think Engage Touches is the one that everyone starts with, and yeah, basically anything in the 2008 area is where I would start. You're actually going to go through the discography, and yeah, most of it is on his Bandcamp. So if you end up having a lot of free time on your hands, which
Yeah, well, I mean, good studying music for sure. I'll definitely check that one out. So, I mean, on my end, I'm thinking of I'm looking through some other ones. I mean, yeah, one thing this coincides with stuff I've been listening to recently, but obviously, if you've followed my blogs and shit like that, I've listened to a lot of like Memphis stuff, more obscure Memphis stuff I hadn't got to previously. But an album this year that's like a Memphis rap sort of album, like really like a crunk album, a southern hip hop album, is from Duke Deuce, who is a QC affiliate. He's in QC, I believe, and had the big song this year with the Crunk Ain't Dead, which had the remix with Lil Jon and Project Pat and Juicy J, and that was a really big track, great track, one of my favorites of the year. But the album is good. It's 12 tracks. It's like 40 minutes or so, and it's basically just like if you liked Crunk Ain't Dead, you're going to like the rest of the album because it's beats are similar. It's got like that. They kind of sound like it could be on like a Project Pat album from like the early to mid 2000s. And I think Duke Deuce is a really charismatic guy, like on the mic. Like he's funny. His voice is unique, definitely compared to a lot of other like modern trap now. So I really enjoyed that, and that kind of doubles with what I've been listening to lately anyway.
Yeah, I only heard the Crunk. I have the album. I haven't listened to it yet. I heard the Crunk Ain't Dead remix. I really liked it. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. He definitely seems to understand the sound, and he's like taking it forward without doing like a super retread of it.
Right. And even just like the title, like Crunk Ain't Dead, like it's like kind of reinforcing what used to be the popular sound in hip hop.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't lead to like revivals of like Snap or Jerk or like other like regional shit that was popular for like 10 minutes that was actually terrible.
You don't want a full on Chingy revival.
New Boys revival.
You don't want the renaissance of that. I don't necessarily blame you, but or like the very first, like even before Soulja Boy Tell 'Em, like the very first Soulja Boy album.
Yeah.
Which was, hey, what are you gonna do? Weird career arc, Soulja Boy. But yeah, so I really like that album. There's a lot of good music this year, like we've said. So there's the what else happened this year? I mean, I guess you want to talk about beat tapes. I think I would love this to be a beat tape. I like the rapping on it too, but the Jelly and Pierre Bourne, the Wolf of Peachtree, I'd love the beats too.
I mean, yeah, I just wish Pierre would put out a fucking beat tape at this point. Like he would put out for anything because he's just getting better and better. I've heard people say this is Pierre's best work. I mean, I think Die Lit is Pierre's best work.
I agree.
Like, I don't think you can really argue with that. But this is up there. It's as good. It's about as good as Slimier, I would say, in terms of beat. And I don't think Jelly's not as good as Nudie, who, by the way, Nudie put out an album that's also really good.
That was great. I love that album.
Yeah, I don't think Jelly's as good of a presence on the mic as Nudie is, but he's more than sufficient. Like, people were kind of like, "Oh, Jelly sucks." Like, you know, the rapper ruins this. I'm like, it's not that serious. It's really, he's fine.
No,
like, he's not like. There are two features on here that try so hard to be Gucci that it's fucking hilarious. There's like some severe Gucci Man cosplay going on this album, which mainly makes me want an actual Gucci verse on Pierre Beat, although Gucci has kind of fallen the fuck off lately.
Yeah, Gucci's, it's not like he hasn't been bad. He's just been like aggressively okay. And like, that's not what I want from Gucci, you know?
He's definitely settled into a really comfortable rut, I would think, like of just putting out like the bare minimum of quality that he needs to.
Right. He'll give you like a couple of heaters each project, and the rest of the project is like, it's not bad, but it's not good. And it's just like they're like, you know, I don't really want to listen to this outside of a few songs.
Right.
Which compared to his 2016, 2017 run is really sad because, you know.
Yeah, like he like sprinted out the gate once he got out of prison, and then it just feels like he kind of lost that momentum, like lost that drive after a while. And since he's not fucked up on every drug ever and needs to put out as much music as possible to feed like 1,000 habits, then he has no real like initiative to flood the market. Like he just doesn't really have the initiative, I guess, to put out like he used to.
But I will say, and to your point about the Nudie record, if you want a great trap album from this year, I would definitely listen to that album, like, because that is just, I think that's my second favorite project from him, probably. I'm behind Nudie Land. I'd probably put it second. It's right there with Slime Air, but this is a great project. No Go, like from the first single, I knew that it was gonna be good because
it's got a fucking Jake One beat on it, which is surprising.
That beat is crazy. I think a lot of his like storytelling on the tape is really cool too. Like, I mean, it's nothing like you haven't heard before, but at the same time, it doesn't matter to me if it's still good, and that's like what the tape is there's a lot of, it's like 16 tracks, but to me it feels like 11 or 12 tracks just because of like the beats, and there's no Pierre beats on here, and the production's still great. Like Nudie is able to like find his pocket, and like his flows and cadences will still change like on most of the songs, and that's like I can't remember like a mediocre track on here really, you know, for the most part. So like Deeper in the Rap, Nudie Story, Blue Cheese Salad, those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, I like what you said about the storytelling and stuff on here, because people were like kind of shitting on him. Like, I feel like Pierre gets this for anyone he works with, is that the rappers ruin the beats, which I don't get at all. I feel like he does a really good job choosing rappers that complement his beats and like go together well with them. Like even like when he raps over his own shit, like he's pretty basic, but I think he has improved over the course of like the Life of Pierre projects. Like, he's not great, but he knows how to rap over his own shit, obviously. So I feel like there's a lot of unfounded criticism. Like, you're not coming to this shit for like super lyrical miracle stuff.
No, and that stuff wouldn't even fit over the beats anyway. Like, I like how Nudie is so blunt and honest, and also like he can do hooks. Like, his hooks to me are always really good. They're not lazy, they're not corny. Like, even going back to his earlier tapes, like Nudie's his hooks are not lazy. Like, they're not corny to me, and they're always, I don't have always, but for the vast majority of the time, they're really good. They're catchy, and I think this tape also proves that he can do a whole tape without Pierre. I mean, because previously, I think his best work, you know, Nudie Land, like Slime Air, those great tapes have had Pierre production on them. I mean, his Slime Ball series was really good too, but I think this tape, you know, it's a full album, 16 songs, no Pierre, no problem.
Right. I actually, when I listened to it at first, when I got to the end, I was like, I actually didn't hear any Pierre tags on here. Was there a Pierre? Because it was like such high, the beats were so high quality, I assumed there were a few Pierre beats on there, but once it got to the end, I was like, I didn't hear his drop at all. So that's when I finally realized that he wasn't on there. So that speaks to
he's a guy that always does his drop.
Right, like, yeah. I actually think one of the best things about the Life of Pierre series is how he does he has the Trackmaster guy on there.
Oh, I love it. I think it's hilarious. It's like, damn, Pierre, where'd you find this? Yeah, it's like, this is the #1 trap mixtape of all time.
And I guess Asan Jones or whatever in the general thread said that I guess DJ Burn One is responsible for putting Pierre on, which makes sense because I never really thought there is kind of a similarity in their sounds. And the way Pierre does like really layered, like textured stuff. So
And I was saying this to my friend the other day, he's really great at finding these odd, like these catchy, oddball melodies. Like his melodies are definitely on point. And I think just we were making the comparison with him and Metro, and Metro's his soundscapes and like his bass and like all of that is always like so perfect and so on point when like you listen to his stuff. And Pierre is like the one thing you could say is like, you know, quote unquote lacking, and I don't believe this to be true, but if you're a naysayer, you could say that maybe his bass doesn't hit as hard as like it could, but his melodies and how odd his beats are, but at the same time like oddly catchy at the same time. You know, you don't really know why you're nodding along to it, but you are in a sense. Like he can create these weird little loops and sounds that are just aesthetically appealing.
yeah, he definitely has an ear for unconventional melody and just subtle hook. Is like he has a way of bringing out the hookiness in a rapper's delivery too. Which I think why he and Cardi go together so well is because what's best about Cardi's delivery is that it is so catchy. Is that he has like these non-verbal phrases and delivery that's just like indescribably catchy for just like, you know, whatever reason, and that's just naturally suited to the way Pierre's beats are constructed. Going through the top chart for the year just to make sure I didn't forget anything. I actually forgot. I don't know. I forgot my top rap album. I forgot my second top rap album, which would be. I hate pronouncing this name now because it's just fucking Milo. But R.A.P. Ferrara, Rap Ferrara, Purple Moonlight Pages, which is Milo and the Jefferson Park Boys on production, which is Kenny Siegel and Mr. Carmack, and I forget who the third guy is. I'm looking it up now. It's like a 3-man production team. Mike Parvizi. Then they like do like live instrumentation with horns in addition, like really jazzy production. They only put out like one beat tape, but it was really good. If you've heard any of Kenny Siegel's other instrumentals, they are pretty much in the same vein, but with like a beefed up horn section. It's very similar to like old stuff like from Project Blode, Freestyle Fellowship, that sort of stuff, which is a great fit for where Milo's been taking his. I'm not going to call him by his other rap name. Sorry, Milo. Sorry, Rory. But where he's been taking his rapping for essentially since Hellfire broke up, since he started the whole Ruby Yacht thing. It's just been a more freeform, jazzy, loose direction, and he comes up with just probably the best example of that yet, of that style on this album, where he fleshes out concepts. It's just really fun. It's just a really great rap performance. He has a track here about like folding clothes, which is like the polar opposite of the J. Cole song about folding clothes. It's I think he did it just to prove that he could do this concept and not make it be corny. And he has the features on here are limited to Mike Ladd and Open Mike Eagle, which would just be like the nerdiest features ever. Both of them really come through on shit. It's kind of like art about making art in a lot of ways, which could seem really pretentious, but there's just a real energy and enthusiasm and skill in the way that Milo delivers everything that like feels genuine and doesn't feel like snotty or pretentious. So, and it also just has that 90s jazz rap feel to it without feeling like a Yo Son, this is a throwback type thing where it's calculated. Right. Very genuinely delivered, like it could be something that came out in 1993 alongside Freestyle Fellowship or Digital Planet. I'm pronouncing a lot of shit wrong on this episode.
No, it's definitely something that I need to listen to, and the genre tags are definitely like up my alley. So I'll definitely listen to that one night when I'm in the more like jazzy rap mold.
The opposite of what you've been listening to. Like you've been listening to like Tommy Wright the Third type '90s shit.
Yeah, I think this is the opposite of
Listening to the dudes who rob the people who go to these shows.
right. Yeah, I listen to like a lot of offshoots of 3-6 and things like that, and Memphis rap and Southern hip hop. So it's definitely the opposite of this, but at the same time, I am always in the mood for that. I'm still a big jazz rap guy, and I go through phases. So I'll definitely check that out because yeah, that's not just you. Everyone has been very very complimentary of the record, so I'm sure it's great. And I was looking down that top 20 as well. I mean, the Weeknd album, like I know you haven't heard it. I think it's excellent. I could talk about that album all day, but it's kind of, I wouldn't want to drone on, but I think it's outstanding. I'm sure everyone who listens to the show knows that the Weeknd album. You don't need me to go through that, but it's probably my favorite album from the year so far. And definitely the best Weeknd project. I think the best Weeknd project in 9 years. So definitely worth, if you had any inclination to listen to a Weeknd project, I think it'd be that one because I think it's got some of his best songwriting in a long time. And similarly on the pop-ish front, the Dua Lipa album is also really good. No surprise that the comment box for that album is absolute garbage.
Wait, what album?
The Dua Lipa album.
Oh, yeah, I would never comment box for that. I
would avoid the comment box like that, like the plague. So, yeah, it's pretty bad as any female fronted pop star these days. It's kind of.
I'm sure that she gets compared to either Kate Bush or Carly Rae Jepsen, right? Because that's on our way.
Percent. The Carly Rae Jepsen comparisons have been flying, but it's really good. It's for me, if you delete there's an 11 track. It's an 11-track album. I think the first 9 tracks are excellent, and I think the last 2 tracks are not great. So I've just deleted the last 2 tracks, and the rest of the album's great. So probably not the pop album of the year, but it will be one of them, I think, by the end of the year, or at least in that conversation. If someone was like, "Hey, it's my pop album of the year," I'm like, I don't blame you because I think it's a great record, and glad that it lived up to the hype. Like it's good to have like a really great mainstream pop album. So.
Well, as far as pop stuff goes, I've been listening to, from this year, the best pop stuff probably was the the Shake album, probably. You consider that pop.
The Shake album's good.
But the Haley Williams stuff, the EP she put out, I thought that was really good. And of course, I have you to thank for getting me into it by beating it over the head that I had to listen to Paramore until I finally did and really liked their last album. So, but this sounds really nothing like Paramore, as everybody points out. It sounds more than a little bit like Radiohead. The one track sounds almost directly like a Radiohead track that I can't remember. I'm sure somebody on ROM already figured out which it is. But I'm trying to remember what track it was. I want to say it was maybe the Cinnamon one. But regardless of the similarities, it's still really, I don't think that she's biting anything. I think she's just trying out new sounds for herself. And I think that it's really successful. I think it's a little self-consciously art poppy, I guess, but that doesn't really work against it because she has the skills and confidence to pull it off. And it's the craftsmanship that she's able to put into a pop song was very evident from the last Paramore album to me, and she's just applying it to a different kind of pop music here.
Yeah, I think when her album eventually comes out in the next month, I'm fully expecting it to be great. I think everything that we've heard so far has been awesome, and I'm just really, it's one of my more anticipated albums of the next couple of months for sure, because she's really freaking talented, and I hope that the finished product is great and it's well received, because that would be cool. So I don't have anything else to add on the Hayley Williams front other than Paramore's really good.
Well, as far as pop stuff goes, I've been listening to a lot of from last year, the Charli XCX album, which
Yes.
I really appreciated until recently. Like I liked it a lot. But I didn't play it. Now I'm playing it to death. Like certain songs off that, I've whittled it down to like an 8-song EP of like things that I think are just songs that are just as good as anything she's ever done. Although I do still skip the Tommy Cash part on Click. I really wish she would stop hanging out with Tommy Cash. I do not fucking like that guy. He sucks on every song he's on. But apparently,
No, I agree.
and I can't imagine anything worse than a Tommy Cash solo album. But
Well, everybody's got a solo career these days, so he's giving it his shot.
I mean, I don't even care if he has like A.G. Cook doing the production like Charli has. Like, I can't imagine anything making him palatable for the course of the whole project. I mean, his feature on this isn't as bad as his feature on Number One. I forget if it was Number One Angel or Pop 2 or whatever, where he has like the worst bucket.
I think he was on Pop 2. Yeah.
He had like Mike Deese level fucking rap feature, which just ugh. But yeah, like I would say Click aside from his verse, Gone, White Mercedes, Silver Cross, and 2099 are all like her best songs, like up there with anything she's ever done, easily.
Yeah. And I think you can add the song she just dropped into that bucket.
Well, I was going to lead into that. It was like, and if 2099 feels like a direct, like the way that ends feels like it directly leads into the song that she just put out. I guess she has an album coming out in mid-May now.
Yeah, she is so prolific, and it's crazy that the level of quality has been this high for her, because she's dropping like an album a year at this point.
Well, she would have dropped an album sooner than she dropped the one last year if I guess her hard drive didn't get leaked or raided or whatever, because she had to scrap an album she had together because somebody stole all her shit.
Right.
That's how he ended up with like the XCX World Bootleg or whatever. She had like 2 or 3 albums with her shit. So
Charli XCX is going to be the Playboy Cardi of
yeah, maybe the quarantine will finally force a whole lot of Red out.
Apparently, the newest rumor is like that it's gonna come out in the next month, but it's a new thing every month, it seems like. So I'm not putting so much.
You saw my review of that Death to Mumble Rap song. It's like Cardi heard that and then he decided, shit, it's dead. I mean, he just got rid of it. He just deleted all the files.
Cardi's like, I have to drop a track now. Well, he's gonna be on a Drake song or vice versa. No, I think he's on a Drake song. It's not vice versa. He is on a Drake track on Drake's album apparently. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that track leaked too. Anything that has his name on it leaks these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've made it when Drake is there to steal your essence.
Oh well, Drake is going to be doing the NY drill stuff on his album. That's my hot take. I think he's going to make a bunch of New York drill sounding songs. Who knows? But that's my take. He has a song with Fabio Foreign, who's was really close to Pop Smoke. He's like a New York drill artist.
I bet you he'll probably have a Pop Smoke feature on his album.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look, the dude had a Michael Jackson feature on his album. You got that. You got that money. Spend anything.
Going through the list here, there was a lot of for being so early in the year. There has been a lot of shit that's come out.
A lot.
The Mark Kozilek album, that's really good, but you have to be into like late. As far as like late period journal, reading my journal, Mark Kozilek stuff goes, that's actually really good. But obviously that is not for everybody. I totally understand if anyone's just completely given up on listening to him at this point. The Destroyer album's really good.
I've heard it's good. I've heard it's his best in a while.
Yeah, I definitely get Kaput vibes on it. It's like a lot like Kaput, but with like more electronic synthy stuff on it. So, Now we get to the Jay-Z album featuring Jay Electronica.
Yes. Let me just say, Jay-Z's verses on this album make me so happy.
It's it's probably the best Jay-Z performance since Black Album. I feel saying that.
Absolutely. And it's taken down a peg by JLX's so-so performance.
It's so bizarre that this is what Jay Electronica's debut ended up being.
I find it hilarious that this exists. Like, did you expect that a 10-year-old song to be on this album?
Yeah, that's the only indication of what like the album was probably going to have been at one point is Shiny Theory. Everything else of this was clearly recorded within the past like 6 months.
And it was, I wonder if it was like, okay, I have to get this out. Like, I don't know what the sudden rush of the sudden rush to put it out was. Like, I don't get it.
I'm wondering if like his contract was maybe about to be up or something.
Yeah, that was what Dead End Hip Hop was like speculating about. Like, maybe that was the reason why, but I don't know.
And like to get him to do it, Jay was like, all right, I'll make you feel special. I'll give you an album of my, like, I'll be on every track.
Right. No, I mean, that
funny that on the M page, it lists the recording dates as November 2010 to 6 February 2020. When that November 2010 is only there because of Shiny Suit Theory. Like,
no, absolutely. It was definitely like, because J-Elec in the first half of the decade, and I wasn't following him then, so correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he dropping a bunch of like Lucy's and stuff?
Yeah, he would drop one like every couple of months, and none of them are on here. Like the whole thing he made his name on was Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C,
right,
which were all Just Blaze beats. Like one had a Most Def feature. I think Exhibit B had the Most Def feature. Exhibit C is the most famous one, and that was supposed to lead into the album. None of that's on here. There was, I think, another track with Jay. We Made It, of course, the We Made It remix, which, I mean, that wasn't really their beat anyway, so I'm not surprised that's not on here. But, yeah, he would drop, there's none of that's on here. He doesn't sound, like, you can tell the difference in, like, I don't think they re-recorded Shiny Suit Theory. I think it's the version that was, like, maybe a little cleaned up, like, on terms of, like, mastering and stuff. But I don't think they re-recorded their vocals. I think it's interesting Dream gets a credit on it because I always thought that was a sample. I didn't know that was Dream.
the same song.
The best beat here is probably Alchemist. The worst beat on here is definitely Flux Capacitor, which, like, Jay's beat is, I mean, Jay's verse is really good considering how bad that beat is.
Yeah, I know people that like that beat, and I'm just like, people are like, oh, like it's like, it's glitchy. I like the fact that it's like kind of experimental, but I don't think that was the purpose of the beat. Like, I don't know. It just sounds off to me. I'm with you on that one.
And yeah, there's a whole, and like the last two tracks, I feel like the table's like really set for Jay Electronica to like totally just like blow you away with like the best verse of his life, and he doesn't. Like,
right.
They're super long. Like Jay-Z gives him this huge build up and everything, and both times like he like gets forever, like as long as he wants to spit whatever he wants, and it's just like, it's fine. Like, he's not untalented. He hasn't lost his skill, but it's just like rambling and kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't move me, and it's a good album. It's a good Jay-Z album. It is not a defining, like, it's called a written testimony, and like which makes you think it's going to be like a defining statement, and it does not feel like a defining statement from, like, a particularly compelling defining statement from him.
No, I agree. And I think this album, to your point about the Jay-Z stuff, this album in conjunction with other, like, I would say 444, is like if you combine the verses on this album with 444, is definitely the longest stretch of his career that Jay-Z's been vulnerable. Because you have all the tracks on Reasonable Doubt, but I think that like he's very, like, the veil is off, like the mask is off on,
Yeah, it's definitely exposing himself in public a lot more than he ever has for a longer period than he ever has.
Like the stuff about having like the cell phone contact of the person that died and like you don't want to delete their number. Like that was powerful stuff.
No, I would recommend everybody listen to it and form your own opinion. And it's another argument that Jay is having like a really kind of unexpected late career renaissance in like unexpected places. But as far as the Jay Electronic, I can't say it succeeds as a Jay Electronic album. Like it's just it's not his album.
No, you're
like,
right.
He lets the album get stolen from him. Like, and he doesn't. It
is. You know, we don't like this word, but it is objectively not his album. It
yes.
is. There are. It can't be. It is a shared album. Yeah, and like I said, I still gave it a positive score, really mostly for Jay-Z on it. I just think that Jay-Z is so incredible on that I just kind of wish that he had his own album to do that.
I mean, I won't go as far as to say that we need like a Jay Electronica-less version of the album or anything, like you would do with like Father Like Son, like get Birdman on all the tracks. But it's definitely I gave it a 7, and that was mostly for Jay. And like I would like if it's like a track where it's Jay-Z then Jay Electronica, I'm probably skipping it after the Jay-Z verse. So
no, yeah, it's you know, it feels weird to say it, but that's that's how I feel too, honestly.
What about the Lil Uzi Vert albums?
Yes.
Speaking of things that we waited a long time for.
Speaking of things, yeah, things in well, this was just label purgatory and leaks and all that stuff.
Actually, I was discussing this with Mukid last night in the SoulSeek chat. So Uzi fucked some DJ's wife, right? Was that drama? That's what got him in all this fucking trouble?
That is
right? Like
that is the accusation. I don't know if it was drama, but it was something. But also, what also fucked him over was one of the Working on Dying used to be Working on Dying as a collective, Philly collective, and they pioneered Tread. They did all that like at the middle of the decade, but they started working with Uzi in 2017, I think, and they had cooked up a bunch of songs together, like a lot of songs. And in 2019, like toward the end of last year, one of the producers in the collective was selling unreleased Uzi songs that they had did. So that threw Eternal Take back again, because Eternal Take was supposed to drop, and then some of the songs that were supposed to be on it were rumored to be sold from one of the producers in the collective. It was only him. It wasn't the rest of the guys. So they had kicked him out of the collective, whatever. That whole drama thing happened. And then I don't know if they made songs in between, or they just didn't release those songs that he sold. But that was another like point of contention in like the process. So the reason there are 2 albums in the first place, I think, is because the second album, the First the World 2, is really like almost a fan-made album, because it's a bunch of songs. It's 14 tracks. Most of those songs are from 2016 to 2018, and a lot of them are like snippets or like songs that were either leaked or there were snippets that Uzi posted himself like a while ago, years ago, that like the fans loved and they kept asking for, and none of those songs ended up on Eternal Take. So on Twitter, all the fans were like, "Oh, but what? No." He was like, "Oh, I got all these songs. Like, do you guys want these songs?" And they were like on an album, and they were like, "Yeah." And then he dropped the album like with those songs. So
yeah, he still didn't find room for Sanguine Paradise or New Paddock.
Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. I didn't get that either. I think because he put the singles on as bonus tracks on Eternal Take, right? So I'm just thinking, why don't you throw Sanguine and New Paddock as bonus tracks too, if we're just saying that? Like, why don't you just throw those on there? But I guess, Eternal Take with the bonus tracks is already 18 songs. I mean, I don't know. I think Sanguine is an amazing song, so I wish he put that on there. But hey, like, at least it was officially released, I guess. You can always listen to it as a single. But I loved it. I mean, I was waiting for it. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Uzi, so I thought Eternal Take was really good. I think the complaints from some people about the production being standard trap fare is weird because it doesn't sound like that to me. But I mean, I might be biased, but I don't think it sounds like that. And Verse the World 2, which is the sequel to his mixtape from 4 years ago, which was previously my favorite Uzi project. I think his Verse the World 2 is now my favorite Uzi project. I think it's like a great. I mean, first of all,
playing something on your computer or whatever.
Am I playing something on my computer?
Yeah, playing some music on your side. I'm pretty sure. Oh, I am. Never mind. I was playing the fucking music on the Uzi page, on the LUV versus the World page.
No,
I was playing.
You're good. No, I think like I love that Uzi versus the World 2. It's basically, and I wrote a piece about it like when it came out, but it was just like I think it's a great summation of like one half of his career, up like basically up until all the label stuff and all the drama, whatever. It's like a really good summation of that era, and Eternal Take is like the new era of him. So I think it's kind of unique that we get two different albums, and the quote unquote deluxe rolls into the regular album at the end of it. So I think that's like unique. Like not a lot of artists put out an album of songs that like fans love that usually just never drop. I mean, how many rappers do we see that about? So, and I thought it was great. And as a sequence project, you can kind of listen to both of them. I mean, it's 30 songs, so maybe don't do that. But you can kind of listen to both.
Like a playlist. You could treat it like a playlist, I feel like.
Oh, well, I mean, I listen to both of them individually, personally, like when I want to listen to them, but you could put them together as a playlist, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's not many, on either album, to me, there's not many skips, but that's personal opinion.
Yeah, I like both. I mean, I thought the Eternal Take, which I was actually pronouncing, speaking of the theme of the episode, me pronouncing things wrong when I was talking to people in real life about it, I think I was pronouncing it Otake because I thought it was like an anime reference I didn't get.
Well, that wouldn't, I mean, he does like anime.
And with the cover and everything, I thought it was fucking some anime shit. But anyway, I thought it was a little long. I thought all the features were really good. I love Strawberry Peels. That's my favorite song on there.
The Young Thug.
Young Thug and Gunna song.
Yeah. Which is funny. It's like the shortest song. It's like under 2 minutes.
I know, but it's like for some reason that one connected with me the most. But I think all the features are really well, except for the fact that it ends on a fucking Nav song. Which
I will say that's probably the best Nav song that exists.
That is like being the best hockey player in Arizona.
Sure. I mean, I don't have I think I'm pretty apathetic on Nav, but I think his flow on that track is great, and his like the beat is really cool, which he did that beat. So
okay,
I'll
give him credit for that. I mean, yeah, it's like probably the least indistinct Nav song I can think of because like I don't think Nav is offensively bad. I just think he's never ever improves on anything. He's like offensively bland, I would say.
Like, yeah, he's like I think with him it's the case of like, and I like a couple of his songs, like some of his songs, but I think it's a thing where it's like, hey, I could just listen to The Weeknd or Travis Scott. It's that sort of.
I mean, there's like this whole genre of just like super mid guys where it's like Nav, Russ, Khalid, Roar.
Khalid's that's a good pick.
Yeah, or I would just aggressively mid.
Mid, yeah.
And I kind of get that vibe off Nav too. And it's like I just remember like that whole he got 2 albums worth of fucking Metro beats, and we still haven't got Metro Thuggin'. Like, I mean, yes, there is the Metro Thuggin' bootleg, but that's not the same thing. So
you're right. He has been blessed with an absurd amount of Metro beats.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to ever hear the complaint about Pierre working the shitty MCs when Metro gave us 2 albums with Nav and an album with Big Sean. So
Big Sean. I hope Big Sean cut the big check for Metro on that, because Metro's beats are really good and he's not good except like one song.
Yeah, that album has some embarrassing shit on it. Like there's the one where they pull up Eric, Pull up, we're at. And then there's the fucking sex song on there with I forget who the feature is. Oh, it's like the grossest. That song came out the same time as Juicy J and Cardi B Kama Sutra, and it was like the two grossest rap songs I'd heard in like a very long time. That it was a very dark period.
You immediately just like you hit play and you regretted it.
I knew when I saw Juicy J featuring Cardi B Kama Sutra, I'm like, I shouldn't listen to this. Nothing good can come of listening to this. But it was a Juicy J song, so I had to listen to it.
Right, and I mean, I don't think Juicy J has fallen off, so I would have expected it to be like at least funny.
It was not funny.
It was not. It was not good. Even the cover for it. Look at the cover for the song. Well, Juicy J.
Nothing good. You say no to horrible Photoshop, Juicy J Kane.
Well, hey, look, he didn't put it on his album that came out that year, so that was good. He left it off the album.
So again, another one where I'm not going to pick a single release by him. I'm just going to say an artist. I'm going to say what Currency's put out this year has mostly been very good.
Yeah.
The DJ Fresh tape is probably my favorite of the releases. His Tonight Show release.
Yeah, that's really smooth.
Yeah, that was like, it's not the sort of production you normally hear him going over. It's definitely more like West Coast, some sort of hype, like kind of hypey stuff. Very trunk music, really aggressive, and people complain about the features. I think like all the features sound good. I thought the Guap Dad 5000, who has the dumbest fucking name, and people complaining about. I actually thought he sounded really good. And what else did he put out this year? He put out the collaborative tape with Fendi P, which is Corner Boy P, hoping you won't realize that he's the guy you always skip on every single Jet Life song. So he changed his fucking name.
He changed his name.
He's still the same guy you skip, and it's exactly what you would expect. It's really good beats, really good spit of verses, and you will not remember a single fucking thing Corner Boy P does at all.
And you're like, why couldn't this just be a Currency tape?
If it were a Currency tape, it would be an 8. But the fact that you have like like half of every song is taken up by Corner Boy P, sometimes even on like hooks, I had to make it a 7 just because like there's good halves of the songs that you will just not be remembering.
Right.
Like it's just it's like a more extreme case of the J Electronica album. Although this one at least bills itself as a collaborative album, and there are like slightly different expectations for what Corner Boy P is going to do than what J is going to do on his fucking debut album. And yeah, he put out an EP that was good that I have no memory of because it was just like a 3-track EP, and there was a 4th fucking thing.
You put out two EPs this year.
Yeah, there was the 3-piece set, and now I'm just going to look up this page.
It's like the green tape.
Oh, the green tape that just came out. That's actually that one's good too. Like I mean, I'm a broken record.
Has a surprisingly low RYM rating.
Well, the first guy who rated it a 1.5, which everybody else who's rated it since is rating it like the usual 3 to 4 range.
Can we devalue that rating?
It was just really out of nowhere because like if you're going to listen to like a Currency EP that just dropped out of nowhere, it's like
you're a fan of the artist for sure.
Pretty much, like, would this be your first project by him for some reason? It just seemed like a really straight, because I could see like not being your thing, and then you're just like, oh, this guy raps really slow about weed all the time, 1.5 stars, but it just seems like a strange place to start.
Yeah, wouldn't you listen to like Pilot Talk 1 or something,
Yeah, like a studio album. But either way, it's it's more relaxed. It's way more jazzy and relaxed than a lot of stuff he tends to go over lately. So if you're a fan of that side of stuff that he's done, like I guess more Pilot Talk era, Verde Terrace, that's more of the lane he's in there. Very much the opposite of the DJ Fresh tape. So kind of both sides of his personality. And again, like his writing's been really sharp this year. I can't emphasize that enough. Even on the the DJ Fresh one's the only one that's not really that lyrical because I guess the instrumentals don't lend them. Like it's not really the place for him to go super lyrical on stuff when he could just like flow over it really nice and it's going to sound just as good. It's more appropriate for the instrumentals. So I recommend everything he's put out this year. Most of it's free because it's Currency. So
I mean, some of it's easier to find than others. I know those Tonight Show things are kind of regional and harder to find, but that's definitely one you would want to play in the car or on a good system. So.
Oh, absolutely, and he's just super consistent. You know, like if you like Currency, you know what you're gonna get. You know it's gonna be solid music for the most part, unless you have to deal with a lot of, like you said, Corner Boy P or what have you.
So it's just disappointing to have him show up because it's like so many other guys I like in Jet Life are like not around anymore or hardly around. Like Young Roddy like left and then came back for like one song and isn't around. Like Fiend doesn't do any shit with him anymore after putting out like 30 of them. Like he did do the tape with Dizza, so Dizza's still around. But it's like you always know you're getting at least one Corner Boy P feature, and you can know there's nothing to look forward to there. Never.
I mean, I would take like I mean, shit. At this point, you could probably. I mean, I would like some like Styles P or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, I guess Jadic has put out an album this year that people are giving fairly good reviews, but I haven't listened to it yet either. Another one I haven't listened to that I've been meaning to get to. But it's like another thing that's excited. Like Jadakiss has never had a single good studio album, so it's like why he's going to start. I'm not confident he's going to start now.
No, but apparently it's like not bad. So
I mean, the feature list looks pretty good. He has a single with Pusha that's probably good.
Got Two Chainz on it. He's got Rick Ross on. He's got Ty Dolla $ign on it. John Legend. I mean, the John Legend track's probably we probably know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be good. I mean, I'm not rushing to listen to Jadakiss, so.
What else was I going to? Back to beat tapes. Knowledge put out a really good beat tape in 1988. He's the only, like pretty much the only guy that Peanut Butter Wolf is still paying on Stone's Throw at this point because there's like everybody else left the label. But it's just as good as anything else he's put out. Like, I mean, obviously, Knowledge puts out a million projects, and not everyone is equal to the others. But generally, when he puts out a proper album at this point on a label, there's a certain like high bar of quality. This meets that. It's more fully formed songs than like snippet style stuff, and so it's I guess a little more complete feeling than some of his older stuff, but it's it's the same sort of knowledge. Like you get the same type of drums, same type of lo-fi quality to it, but it doesn't feel like he's it feels like he's progressing pushing his sound forward, I would say. Like he's not going over the same type of like it doesn't feel repetitive from his older work, which is pretty amazing considering how much he's put out. And he also put out another one of Meek remix projects too, which I always find
the Meek remix ones. Yeah, that was good. It was short, but it was good.
Yeah, it was pretty short. He's on his sixth one now. I think he put out the fifth one. I don't know if the fifth one was like December or January. It was like kind of on the fence, but he just put one out this month, right around the time he put his album out too. They're always like $8, and they've been getting better with each one. Like the first one was okay, but each one's like an improvement on the last one. And he's been doing some pretty deep digging for these Meek verses too. Like he finds some old ones, he finds some features on like projects you wouldn't like. He doesn't pick obvious stuff, which I think shows that he's like really a fan. So.
Right, and to your point, like some of the Meek verses, I mean, they sound very different in with Logic's production, and some of them are like a little more lo-fi, so I can't necessarily pick up on the whole verse sometimes. But they're definitely deep cuts because some of the verses I straight up don't recognize. And I mean, I don't listen to Meek albums regularly, but I've heard a bunch of Meek albums, and I feel like, and features, I feel like I would have picked up on more of the verses by now. But a lot of them, I'm like, oh, where did he get this verse from? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and Knowledge is not above fucking with people too. Like, I mean, I just remember on like the remix thing he put out last December, like he actually put a remix of Chance the Rapper's "Hot Shower" on there, which I would not forget before. So who knows where he is? He might be getting this shit from really obvious places, and I don't know how many more pages back I'm going to go. I'm on page 6 of the. I'll go back one more page on the charts list here, and then we'll. That's probably.
Yeah, I'm looking through mine right now, and I think. I mean, there were some. I mean, there's been a bunch of good music this year. Like I think, I'll shout out I mean, resident RYM. Oh, they don't have RYM accounts, but just resident RYM weirdo group, Reptilian Club Boys, which I recently got into. Obviously, like High C, all those guys. They put out projects this year. High C had a tape that was really good, and our EP, I think, that was really good, and RCB had a collab tape that was really good. So there's that. Disclosure, electronic music, house group UK, big name Disclosure. They had an EP that was good. They have an album coming out this year, I believe.
They've been a while, right? That sounds familiar. Like they were like an older group, right? Disclosure.
Yeah, well, they were big in the early 2010s. Like they had mainstream success. And
I
they're
thought they were 90s old. But I guess
no, they're like early. They were big in the early 2010s. And then they kind of like didn't release music for a while. They came back a year or two ago with some EPs that were really great again, and then they put out an EP this year that was really good. They're just like usually like UK garage house music, like a little bit of like deep house in there. So they're I mean, I think they're consistently very good. So I like their stuff.
I'll just do a quick shout out to. I don't think you can find his music anymore on Bandcamp because I think he got hit with a cease and desist. But if you know where to look, you can probably find it without too much trouble. His Altered Crates does all of these great mashups. He did Tyler the Creator and MF Doom, like I think called it Flower Villainy or something, where it was like not really what you would like in terms like. I know there are a ton of Doom mashups out there, but he did that one, and he did a Doom and New Jobs, New Jobs. Once again, I'm pronouncing something really fucking wrong. Metaphor. I guess there still are on Bandcamp. Well, I guess it's because I bought them. I can look at them, but I don't think you can stream them off Bandcamp anymore. He did Butcher and Donuts, which is Benny the Butcher over Dilla, not necessarily stuff off Donuts, just old Dilla beats. Just like mashups like that. He did Earl over Apollo Brown. All of these are better than I'm making them sound. They sound really professional. They were all free or pay what you care to. And really, he had a real ear for taking stuff and recontextualizing it, and things that might have sounded gimmicky on paper and practice actually provided like a new fresh spin on stuff you'd heard before. And as far as the Doom stuff went, he was, speaking of like looking for verses you might not expect, he really dug deep to find Doom verses that people weren't using, because a lot of remixers of Doom stuff would stick to the same 5 or 6 like Mad Villain versus acapellas or food acapellas that were out there, and he really put in a lot of extra effort. So if you can still find anything by Altered Crates, he's one of the few people who makes mashups worth hearing, alongside Tom Caruana and Amerigo Gazaway, who both have also put out stuff recently too. So definitely recommend that. I have not listened yet. I am so sorry, because he's one of the few people who actually probably will listen to this podcast. But Celestiphone of RYM fame put out an album that was being anticipated for quite a while. He actually got some name features on there, including Paul Barman, which quite impressive. And I do really like the singles that I heard off of it, but I haven't listened to the whole project yet. I'm waiting till I can actually give it the appropriate time and attention. I'm sure it's great, so don't be mad at me, Josh. What else?
I'll give you one, and it's not a great album, but I really like it. It's the G Herbo album from this year, which I think has some of his most.
I've totally fallen off on listening to him since Fazoland.
Yeah, I think it has some of his most impassioned rapping in a while, because he put out an album in 2018 with Southside that I thought was pretty good, but I think this is probably his best work since Ballin' Like I'm Kobe, which of course has an interesting tone now these days, but
yeah.
That's the intro track is one that was like went up before. I think it was originally a freestyle, that people went crazy for it, and he put that as the intro track. That his rapping is crazy on that. It has a BJ the Chicago Kid feature, which I haven't heard him in a while. It's got the song with Lil Durk is predictably really good. There's a song with Juice WRLD, Chance, and Lil Uzi, which is way better than Has Any Right to Be with those three put together.
I've had good things about song specifically, like that Chance's verse on there is like way better than you would expect, given the features and the concept and everything that would seem to encourage Chance's like work tendencies, but it's actually really like one of his better.
No, he was good, and Juice is really good on that. And the whole album, like the PTSD theme, pretty much continues to the whole album. Like my favorite track is "Lawyer Fees" with Polo G. That's a great song. Really sad. The most of the album is pretty somber. Like there are tracks that are more up tempo, but I think most of it is like, it's a pretty. I mean, it's a gangster rap album. It's a drill kind of like trap album, but at the same time, it does have like a quote unquote conscious flair, if that is something that interests you. So I think I think it was a good tape. I liked it.
I mean, I guess as far as the slums type of collective goes, Navy Blue finally put out a real album that wasn't just a bunch of stuff on SoundCloud. That was very good. I can't say that I've listened to it too much because, again, kind of like the Shrapnel album, it's something I have to really be in the mood for because it's a very specific type of mood. But like all of his stuff, it's very good. Although I think that Mavi has kind of passed him a little bit in terms of like that style of like being second best to Mike in the crew. But it's still it's good. Like it's Navy's usual stuff, like usual subject matter and production. And I'm kind of underselling it, but it's very like usual level of quality for his stuff. And Mike himself put out that little EP with Future C, or I forget what it's that dude's name. It like ends in C, like SEA. You know what I'm talking about? It was like a 10-minute, 12-minute EP.
Oh, I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it right now.
It's really good, but it's also really like low fidelity. So it's a lot closer to the earlier EPs he put out than like War in My Pen or any of the recent stuff. But it's still obviously worth hearing. Like if you're into Mike, you definitely wouldn't be bothered by like low fidelity tape hiss type shit. But it is like I think only on his SoundCloud. I don't think there's a Bandcamp for it or anything. I should just look it up.
I have to listen to I have to listen to a lot of Mike's recent stuff. Yeah, I don't personally I don't think I have anything else left to shout out.
Jadesy. It's called Old Earth. That was it. It's 11 minutes long. And Jadesy is a British rapper. He's actually not in the crew. So yeah, it's if you go to the RYM page, you can stream it off. The SoundCloud streams up there. So it's definitely Mike's only on he only raps on like one or two of the tracks. So it's not really like a proper project of his, but it's like it's kind of in line with the whole slum stuff. So you generally know if you like that, like stuff that sounds like some rap songs. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else either. Really, like I think we covered a lot. Like
we did. There was
a lot to cover. Oh, I didn't really cover the Strokes album. That was the way I alluded to the other rock album. That was
the most recent album in this podcast.
Yeah, because it technically just came out the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a similar situation to the Lana Del Rey album from last year, and that it was an artist that I kind of thought, like, I like their singles, but I never really saw them as an album artist, but this is good enough that it's kind of making me rethink that. I'm going to go through their previous shit and see if there was something I was missing, because I really love every track on there, and I was worried that Rick Rubin's shitty production was going to ruin things, but actually didn't. Like, he still doesn't know how drums are supposed to sound. The drum mixing is like the weak point of the album, but other than that, he mostly stays out of the way. And yeah, it's 9 tracks. Every track is great. Hooks are great. It's the first Strokes album I would say is as good as any of Julian's solo stuff. So I highly recommend that. It's not as good as the Guided by Voices album, but close.
No, I'm definitely gonna be checking that one out, and I know that I have a pretty good feeling it's gonna be good just because I like the singles. So, like, hey.
I mean, the video for the one single is very depressing now, but The video they did for the first single with all the Bernie stuff in it.
Oh God, yeah. That's gonna be some emotional stuff going on there.
Didn't age particularly well.
I also want to say right now, while we're here, to end this podcast, as of 1 hour ago, this appears to be Playboy Carti putting the cover of his album on his Instagram as an official photo. So it's him, and there's a parental advisory sticker on it. So I don't know. We might finally be getting it.
I will believe it when I listen to it. But
I'll believe it when it leaks.
we got the J Electronic album, and it was not, kind of. So.
But we did get the J Electronic album, so anything is possible now.
Well, we managed to talk for 2.5 hours and not mention the word coronavirus once, I believe, until now. So I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
So hopefully, if you listen to this provided you with a little respite from having to hear about that shit and some suggestions to distract you from our current pandemic hellscape. And maybe since at least one of us doesn't have very much else to do at the moment, maybe we'll have another one of these for you shortly. But until then, and now more than ever, we are living off borrowed time. See you again shortly.